Good morning, it's Thursday, and we are going to be talking about how to get over the guilt of making time for yourself, and then how and why you should make time for yourself. And this topic came from a reader or a viewer who emailed in and asked me if I could tackle this. So I'm excited to jump into that today. How are you all? I am so excited because I get to go get my hair done today, and that's always my hair is, you can see the grays coming in, and I am ready to get my hair done. So I'm excited about that, and I'm also excited. I forgot to mention yesterday that it was the first day of fall yesterday, and I totally forgot to mention that. I love fall. It's my favorite time of year, and so I had to celebrate yesterday by wearing leggings even though it was 81 degrees, because I'm like, leggings, I'm so excited. I have missed you so much. So yes, you hear me on the gray. Are we old enough for that? I know. I just have this one little spot mostly, and then a couple, it's kind of sprinkled throughout, but this one little spot is kind of funky. So anyway, in line for pumpkin spice latte now. My husband actually bought me one on Saturday, and he said, I just want you to drink a little bit of this. He used a Starbucks gift card and he brought me one. And then he goes, I'm like, it's so sweet. And he's like, yeah, remember when we used to drink coffee like this all the time? So we've kind of gotten to where we don't. I need to find a good coffee or some kind of drink that's pumpkin that's not super sweet, because we've kind of gotten where we don't like those super sweet drinks. So we also had something exciting happen yesterday, and that was that we hit 5,000 followers on Periscope. You guys, I am just blown away by you all. I am having so much fun with Periscope, so much fun. And that you're showing up every day, and your comments and your interaction and your emails and your tweets, it is so fun. And so I just wanted to tell you all thank you so much. You do half syrup, and that helps. I need to try that. The leggings video that I told you guys about, if you missed on Instagram or on Facebook, I did this funny post about leggings and then talked about Jen Hatmaker's video on leggings. If you have not watched Jen Hatmaker's video on leggings, please do yourself a favor and go Google Jen Hatmaker fashion video. You will laugh so hard. She is just, I love Jen so much. I don't know her, but I love her so much, and she is hilarious. So if you have not done that, please go do that, because you might need a laugh today. So, and I watch it over and over. Oh, thank you so much for your sweet words about my scopes. Okay, so today we are going to talk about how to make time for yourself, and why you should make time for yourself, and why you shouldn't feel guilty about it. But first, if you are new to my scope, my name is Crystal Payne. I am married to Jesse. We've been married for 12 and a half years. We have 3 kids. Catherine is 10, Caitlin is 8, and Silas is 6. I'm so glad that they're every 2 years right now. When it changes, it messes me all up. And we live in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and we homeschool, and we are self-employed entrepreneurs. And I am the founder of MoneySavingMom.com, as well as the author of the New York Times bestselling book, Say Goodbye to Survival Mode. And I am also the creator of the 14-day online course, Make Over Your Mornings. So if you are struggling with mornings, you're feeling like life is overwhelming and chaotic, and you just need some order and some structure, I want to encourage you to go to makeoveryourmornings.com, and you can scroll all the way to the bottom, and there is a little form at the bottom where you can fill out your name and your email address, and we will send you the first day for free so you can check it out. Thank you so much for your kind words about Make Over Your Mornings, and thank you so much for sharing stuff. That's so kind of you. I appreciate you guys so much, your hearts and your sharing, and you are the best. The best. You can comment. Yay, Alicia. Okay, so this scope is from Emily. Emily emailed in. She is a scope viewer, so maybe she's on today, maybe she's not. I hope she'll see this, or at least see the replay. Yay, you made it live again, Jillian. This came from Emily, and I just wanted to mention that if you have a question that you would love for me to do a scope on, you have a topic you'd love for me to do a scope on, you have a question you'd love for me to answer, you can email that either to Crystal at MoneySavingMom.com or through our contact form on our site, or you can even tweet it at me. So here's her question. Here's the question that Emily sent in. She said, I've been reading your blog since 2009. Ow, and have been recently loving your periscopes. I do have a question that I hope you can answer in a blog post or on a scope. How do you not feel guilty about sitting down to read? During nap, I have 2 girls who are 2.5 and 1.5. I usually have homemaking chores to do, but if I have extra time during a nap, I always feel guilty sitting down to read. It always feels like there's something else I should be doing. Have any of you ever felt like that before? Have you felt like, I want to be able to sit down and read or do something else, but I am struggling with guilt? Oh, thank you for the saying about my earrings. I love these too. They're one of my favorites. Okay, I know that I feel guilty sometimes as well, and I wanted to share some things that have helped me to get over that guilt and have a better perspective, a healthy perspective. I think the first thing is you need to remember the why. Like, why is it okay to take time for yourself? And I know sometimes there are almost messages out there that say like me time is selfish, and it can be selfish. It can be selfish if you are if you're neglecting your other responsibilities, if you are, putting it above everything else. Yes, me time can be selfish, but it also can be one of the best, most life-giving things that you can do for yourself. And I think you need to remind yourself that you are no good to anyone if you're exhausted. You're no good to anyone. You are not going to be a good coworker, a good wife, a good mom, a good anything. Hey buddy, did you want to come say hi on my scope? Silas loves to be on Mama's scopes. Say hi, this is Silas, he's 6. And he just woke up. So you are not going to be any good to anyone else if you don't take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself. You're not good if you're exhausted. You cannot be the wife and the mom and the coworker or whatever the hats that you wear if you're exhausted. And also, if you are a mom or if you're in any position, I think almost all women, we are pouring into others. Whether we're a mom or whether we're not a mom, we are pouring into others. Whether our kids are little, whether our kids are grown, whether we don't have kids, we are pouring into others. And if we are going to be constantly pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring into others, we have to pour into ourselves as well. Because you can't expect to be able to pour and pour and pour and pour and not replenish that supply. So you're no good to anyone if you're exhausted, and you have to pour into yourself in order to be able to pour into others. And so remind yourself of this if you're trying to talk yourself out of taking time to replenish your supply. Remind yourself of those things. Now, how do you make time, and how do you make time without feeling guilty? I want to just share a few things that have worked well for me. One is to budget a time block for it. I've talked on some of my other scopes about budgeting time blocks. If you go to catch.me/MoneySavingMom, that's katch.me/MoneySavingMom, there are all of my scopes that I've done over the last few weeks, and I talk about time blocks and productivity on some of those scopes. But the whole concept of budgeting our time, because we don't have, unlimited time. We just don't. We have limits, and we only have 24 hours in our day. So we have to have a budget. It's just like our money. If we view our money like it's just never ending, we're going to get ourselves into bad trouble. And it's the same thing with our time. If we view it as it's just there's, endless time, we're going to get ourselves into trouble. And so this is why I am such a firm believer in a budget. But I also believe that you need to, just like in your money budget, that I think you need to budget for some fun money so that you have breathing room and so that you don't just become this miser. Even if it's just $5 a month, you need to budget a little bit for something fun to give yourself that breathing room. It's the same thing in your own life, budgeting time for replenishing your supply. That gives yourself permission. It's just like with a money budget. If you have set out this budget, then you can guiltlessly spend the money that's in that category because you have given yourself permission to spend it on that item. So in your own life, give yourself that permission, budget time to replenish your supply. And that way you've given yourself permission, and then you don't have to feel guilty because you're like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm supposed to be reading, or I'm supposed to be having coffee with a friend, or I'm supposed to be sitting here watching this movie, or I'm supposed to be working on crafts, or I'm supposed to be going for this walk. Budget time so you give yourself permission. That's just one idea. Another idea would be to also, think about, is there a time in your day where you just say, I'm shutting everything off? So for instance, I've talked about how on Sundays we just shut things down. I give myself permission on Sunday that I don't need to do any work. I don't need to do any business work. I don't need to do any housework. I usually will do, a little bit of maintenance and pick up, but I am okay on Sunday if I leave those dishes in the sink, if I don't touch the laundry. I have given myself permission that that is a day to restore myself. So give yourself that permission. And I find that then I can face Monday with so much more energy because I've budgeted that time and I've given myself that permission. And then I'm so much better the rest of the week because of that. You could also say that in the evening, every evening after a certain time, you are shutting down. So I know one mom, she talked about how she has work hours. And so she says how, she goes to work, quote unquote, she's a stay-at-home mom, but she goes to work at 8 a.m. and she gets off at 5 p.m. And at 5 p.m., she doesn't do any more work. And she gives herself that break of saying, after 5 p.m., I don't have to do any more, because otherwise the work is never ending. It's always going to be there, but you have to carve out that time, budget that time so that you can replenish your supply. You might also, if it's during nap time, set the timer and say for 30 minutes or even just for 15 minutes, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do something that's going to replenish my supply. And then when the timer goes off, I'm going to get up and go work. But giving yourself that boundary and that permission to say, for this amount of time, I'm going to do this to replenish my soul. So number one would be to budget a time block for it. Number two, you can make it a reward. I found that this gives myself a lot more permission and lets go of a lot of guilt for me when I make it a reward. So I say, if I do all of this, then I get to do this. And then I don't feel this guilt of like, I should be doing something else. I can be like, no, this is a reward for all that hard work that I did. So maybe at the end of the day, like we talked about, my husband and I, one of the things we love to do is we are watching West Wing right now. I've never watched the series, so we're watching through West Wing. And as you all know, I love to color. And so at night, a few nights a week, we will just sit and watch an episode of West Wing and I will color. And we just do this after our kids are in bed. And I don't have to sit there and feel like, oh my goodness, I have all these things that I have to do. I can just enjoy it because I'm saying this time, this is a reward for all the work that I did the rest of the day. When you finish a project, can you say, okay, if I write for 45 minutes, or if I clean out my cupboard, or if I file all these papers, or get rid of this stack of stuff, then I can do something for 15 or 30 minutes, making it a reward when you finish a project. And I love how, I talked to you about the mom who says the 8 to 5 sort of thing. I think you need to compartmentalize. Yesterday I talked about how I compartmentalize the homeschooling and the home business. And I have had to compartmentalize that. Otherwise it's like it's all going to run everywhere. If you have a home business, your home is also your quote office. And so I've had to compartmentalize and say, okay, I'm going to shut the door on the business. I'm turning it off. And then I'm going to go and be with my family and be all there, 100% present. One of my friends, she actually said that she has an open and close sign on her office door, and she put that on her office door, and she turns it to open when she's doing her work time, and then she turns it to close when she shuts the door. And that's her reminder that she is not supposed to do work at that time. Once she's closed down the office is closed until the next day. And I love that idea, and I think you can implement it in other areas of your life as well, even if you don't have a home business. But think, how can you signify to yourself that, okay, The work is done until tomorrow. There's a fly flying around, so if you see something buzzing around, it's a fly. The work is done until tomorrow, and tomorrow I'll pick it back up again. I think also having systems in place, like we've talked about, that helps you so that you have some order and structure. Your life doesn't feel so chaotic, and so then you can enjoy those time blocks more. The other thing is just do it. Just do it. Remind yourself, again, like we talked about in the beginning, why it's important. Maybe you need an accountability partner to help you, to remind you, to check in with you and say, have you taken time to replenish your supply? Have you spent time and invested in yourself so that you can invest in other people? So budget a time block for it, make it a reward, and just do it. Sometimes you just have to get up and do it, and then later on you'll realize that was the best thing ever. My husband, sometimes he will literally just say, you know what, you're having a hard day. I can tell that you're overwhelmed. I want you to just go out for an hour. He'll be like, go to the grocery store, go to Starbucks. I don't care, go out for an hour. And I'll be like, oh, I'm fine. I don't, there's stuff to do. And he'll just literally shove me out the door, and not shove, but I mean, send me out the door and say, you gotta go. And when I come back, I'm always like, thank you so much. That helped me so much. That was such a good idea. And he's like, I know. And so sometimes you just have to do it. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I also, yesterday someone had asked me about what I do for my Bible study in the morning. And many of you know this, but I was just going to show. This is the She Reads Truth study journal, and I have been doing She Reads Truth. It's at shereadstruth.com. I've been doing this for the past, I'm trying to think. I know it's been over a year. I started last October, I think it was. So it's almost a year that I've been doing She Reads Truth. And I love their journals and their devotionals. They have a daily devotional that you can get on their app, or you can get emailed to, or you can read on their site. And I just love the devotions. So they'll have a devotion and then some scripture reading, and then they have a journal. You could use their journal, or you can just get a journal from the dollar store, or you don't even need to write anything down if maybe you're at a really busy season of life. But I love their journals because she studies, so I just write down verses and how they've impacted me, and then she prays, and so then I take the verses that I read and I write out a prayer based upon that, and then she lives. And so this will be basically taking what I read, what I learned, and then say, what am I going to live that day? Like yesterday, I said, today, let me embrace your grace, for you are good. So this is the She Reads Truth study journal, and I highly recommend that you check that out if you don't have a good devotional that you're doing right now. I also every morning write in my gratitude journal, and this is a 1 line a day journal that we produced, and I just love starting my day with reminding myself of the good things that God is doing in my life, instead of focusing on the hard things or the things that might be discouraging. Starting my day with gratitude completely transforms my whole attitude and perspective on the day. Then I had one more thing I want to show you before I'm going to read a quote from Nourished. And that was yesterday, My Graceful Life posted on Instagram as a result of being inspired by yesterday's scope. She posted this on Instagram. She put jurisdictions for each of her family members. You can see this is My Graceful Life. And I actually posted it on my Facebook page last night. It is facebook.com/MoneySavingMom if you want to check that out. But she wrote out jurisdictions for each person in her family and put it on the whiteboard. And I loved that whole, the whole concept of jurisdictions for us has been very helpful, because it's like, this is what each person in our family is responsible for. And so I just want to share that with you. And also changing your perspective of saying to your kids, not saying you have to do this, but I am trusting you with this. I think that you have shown yourself to be responsible enough to take on this jurisdiction. Changing the messaging that you give to your kids and how you assign chores and jobs and jurisdictions to them, I think that really helps them to have a different perspective on it, that they are, taking responsibility because they have ownership in this, because mom or dad has seen that they have the character and they have shown the work ethic to take on this jurisdiction. So I just want to mention that. Okay, And finally, we are reading Nourished, A Search for Health, Happiness, and a Full Night's Sleep. And we were in section 3 yesterday, and section 3 was about nourished bodies and nourished selves. And I'm just going to read a quote that this is actually not from them. This is a quote that they have in the book from someone else, and it is by Steve Maraboli. I'm not for sure how you pronounce his last name. He might be some really famous person that I should know, and I'm sorry if that's the case. But this is the quote. There is nothing more rare nor more beautiful than a woman being unapologetically herself, comfortable in her perfect imperfection. To me, that is the true essence of beauty. A woman being unapologetically herself, comfortable in her perfect imperfection. That is the true essence of beauty. That really inspired me. As you know, if you've been following my blog, MoneySavingMom.com, I've been blogging a lot in the last 2 years about authenticity and vulnerability and just being our true selves. And that quote, just thinking about, it's a beautiful thing when we are unapologetically ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean we don't work on our shortcomings, that we don't improve as a person, that we don't grow. Like I have had to grow as in grace and compassion for other people. That's not something that came naturally to me. I'm more of a cut and dry, black and white sort of person. So growing in compassion and grace. But at the same time, also recognizing that the gifts that God has given me of being more black and white, being analytical, being able to kind of look at the big picture, that's a gift. And I don't want to run away from that. I want to exercise that, but exercise it with grace. So being unapologetically myself and who God has created me to be, that is a gift that you and I can give to the world. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to go back. I didn't get to interact with a lot of the comments today, but because I had so much I wanted to share. But I can't wait to go back and read all of them. And I will look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow around 7:30 a.m. Central Time for more morning motivation. Thanks for joining me and have a wonderful day.